wa ala alihi wa sahbihi. In the name of Allah, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, and all those who follow him until the day of judgment. Inshallah ta'ala, before going into the first class, the hadith number 1, inshallah, we would like to just quickly summarize the introduction of last week. This is a breakdown of Imam an-Nawawi's introduction. So basically, each paragraph of Imam an-Nawawi's introduction is one of these points. Alright? So Imam an-Nawawi rahimahullah started his introduction with first praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his names, with his attributes, and then he goes on to send salutations upon Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, mentioning names and attributes of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then point number 2, he starts talking about that there are there's a hadith from different turuq, from different versions, meaning different sahabas related different ahadith, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Abu Dar, and so on. And this hadith is related to whoever memorizes for me 40 hadith will be raised with the ulama, with the righteous, and there's different versions of this hadith. At the end, Imam an-Nawawi narrates all of the different ways to this hadith. But then he tells you the grade. And all of these ahadith, they're actually weak in grade. Right? But then Imam an-Nawawi teaches us a little bit about the fiqh of hadith. And he tells us that the scholars view that the using of weak hadith for fada'il, for virtues, it is allowed. Jade? For fada'il. And this is, he gives you also a ruling on the usage of weak hadith in regards to fada'il, virtues. Okay? And then Imam an-Nawawi rahimahullah said that many scholars wrote books on 40 hadith. Abdullah ibn Mubarak and Ibn Aslam al-Tusi, Hassan ibn Sufyan al-Nasa'i, and many others. Imam Shah Waliullah Dahlawi wrote the 40 hadith, and even until now, many people are still writing 40 hadith. Okay? Imam an-Nawawi, after relating this hadith from many versions, he says, and this is not my motivation for compiling the 40 hadith. After he gives you a whole explanation, he says, my motivation was this hadith, which is actually authentic, and he says, let the one of you who witnesses convey to the one who is absent. Let the one of you who witnesses convey to the one who is absent. And then he mentions the different scholars that wrote 40 hadith. So inshallah, and we also mentioned the adab, we can turn inshallah, the adab of Imam an-Nawawi rahimahullah. The manners in writing, in compilation. Many times we read books, we ignore the introduction, and we want to get to the meat of the matter. In the introduction, we find a manhaj, a methodology. In the introduction, you find the maqsid, what is the objective of the author. In the introduction, you find the rawhaniyah, the spirituality of what inspired them, and how these authors didn't write for the sake of writing and selling and making their names popular or selling books, but they wrote with a particular objective to benefit the ummah. That's it. So Imam an-Nawawi, we mentioned 4 different books that he wrote, Kitab al-Majmu', Kitab al-Adhkar, Kitab Riyad al-Salihin, and the 40 hadith. And I gave a glimpse, because I did a paper on all 4 introductions, and what was every time he used to make istikhara before writing a book, he used to give praise to scholars that wrote on those subjects, and he also gives you the reason why he compiled such books. Now today, inshallah, we're going to go through hadith number 1, inshallah ta'ala, in an abridged version. But we covered in 3 years, just to give you a little roadmap. The first year, we did the 40 hadith. And we did the explanation of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah. The approach of Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah was the approach of giving you the fawaid, the benefit of the hadith. Fawaid al-hadith, and he gives you points. We covered that. We covered the 40 hadith in 2014. Last year we covered the 40 hadith of Imam al-Nawawi with the explanation of Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, who was Ibn Daqiq al-Eid? Ibn Daqiq al-Eid was the student of Sultan al-Ulama, Al-Izz ibn Abdul Salam. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid mastered the Maliki and Shafi'i madhab. When he was appointed Qadi in Egypt, in a particular region that was Maliki, he judged according to the Maliki madhab. When he was appointed Qadi, judge in another region that was Shafi'i, he judged according to the Shafi'i madhab. So Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, rahimahullah, was the student of the one that was named Sultan al-Ulama in Masr. The master of the ulama in Masr, Al-Izz ibn Abdul Salam. And then he had a student that he said when this young boy came to him, he said, this young boy has in his fingertips the ulum of Islam, and he yatasarraf kayfa yasha, and he's able to utilize these sciences. He mastered all of these sciences. This young boy. Look at how a teacher recognizes the good of a student. Now the question is, who was this student? And this student, his teacher, Ibn Daqiq al-Eid mastered the Maliki Shafi madhab, right? And his teacher, Izz ibn Abdul Salam, was Shafi. Who was the student who ended up being Hanbali? Right? Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah was the student of Ibn Daqiq al-Eid. And Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, in giving tazkiyah to Ibn Taymiyyah, said he had the knowledge in his hands and he was able to use it however he wanted. And that's why he received the title Shaykh al-Islam rahimahullah ta'ala. So just to give you a glimpse of the relationship. So last year we did the explanation of the 40 hadith by Ibn Daqiq al-Eid, which focused on fiqh. The fiqh derived from these ahadith and ahkam, right? So now we go to the 40 hadith explained by man Sahib al-Kitab, explained by Imam al-Nawawi himself. So he got some fiqh and some rawhaniyah that Imam al-Nawawi used to share. So the first hadith, عن أمير المؤمنين أبي حفص عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى فمن كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته إلى الله ورسوله ومن كانت هجرته للدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته إلى ما هاجر إليه. The hadith states, verily actions are judged by their intention, and every person will get the reward for that which he intended. So whoever intended to make hijrah to Allah, to go to Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger. Whoever intended to make hijrah for some dunya or for the attainment of marriage, then the reward is for that which he intended. Now, can we turn this around? No, this here, the board. Yeah, you got it? Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Appreciate it. Just turn. Give you the bullet points so that you can kind of have a map. It's easier. Okay? So the hadith actions are rewarded by the intention, right? A little bit. So the first point is the hadith, right? Actions are judged by the intention. The second point is the 3 stages of actions. The fourth is the hadith Qudsi, that Allah speaks about that he doesn't have any partners with him. And then we talk about the point of showing off, and then a little explanation on the sentences of the hadith. So first of all, this hadith indicates that intention measures is the measure for rendering actions true. So that where the intention is sound, the actions are sound, and where the intention is corrupt, the actions is corrupt. There's something else. Because in the shurut of qubul al-amal is not only niyyah. There is niyyah and muwafaqat al-Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There is intention, and that the actions are also in line with the instructions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The intention can be good, and it can be doing it the opposite of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like for example, Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu was asked about the masah, wiping of the sock. Wiping of the khuf. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu said if it was because of logic, right? Why do we do tahara? Right? Why do we do purification? We wash the areas that are getting pure. But there's also the symbolical, right? Like for example, you pass gas, why do you wash your arms? Right? There's also the hikmiyah and hukmiyah. So here, Ali radiallahu anhu said, if it was because of logic, then the most logical is to wipe the bottom of the feet. Because that's the one you walk, and that's the one that needs to be purified. But he said, I saw the messenger of Allah wipe the top. So we wipe the top. Right? And some wipe the top and wipe a little bit of the bottom, adi. But the thing is that this is the way the Prophet ﷺ did it, and he wiped the top, from top to bottom. And so Ali was giving us the example. This is what? Muwafaqat al-Rasul, the way that the Prophet did it. Right? Now, the actions are of three types. The action, which is the worship of the slave, which is a person worships out of fear of Allah. So he worships out of just always fear of Allah. Right? Then you have the second type of action is the action of the trader. Right? The businessman. The one that wants to do tijara ilallah. He wants to do these actions for the sake of business. He wants to get hasanat. I want to go to the masjid because it's 27 times better, right, to pray in jama'ah. Right? Or 25 times better to pray in the masjid. There's two versions of the hadith. One deals with jama'ah, and jama'ah can be in the house. And the other is the virtue of praying congregation in the masjid. So this is the worship of the trader. I want to do this because I get these many hasanats. Right? And he's thinking about the reward. And third is the worship of the free people. Right? The worship of the one that worships Allah out of modesty, out of gratitude. He fears Allah, but he's he's not only focused on the reward. He knows that the reward is there, but he's more out of this love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's a combination of fear and love, and the center of it is love. The fear and hope, and the center of it is love. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, that the believer, he worships Allah. It's like two wings of a bird. One wing is fear, and the other is hope. This is the balance of the believer. And the center is hope, is love. And the Prophet ﷺ gave the example. He was worshiping Allah. Right? We worship sometimes for expiation of sin. Right? Let me go make wudu perfectly, because the Prophet ﷺ said, when you wash your hands, the drop that falls from your hand, cleanse off your sin, right? So you're thinking about this expiation of sin. Right? The Prophet ﷺ, his sins were expiated. Allah forgave his sins. He is ma'soom. So now he's worshipping, and his feet are getting swollen. And Aisha radiallahu ta'ala said, Ya Rasulullah, why are you praying so much if you are a forgiven servant of Allah? Why? Your feet are getting swollen. He said, shouldn't I be a grateful servant? Shouldn't I be a grateful servant? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So this is the way that the Prophet used to worship Allah. Love Allah, fear Allah, recognize the greatness of Allah, but also show gratitude to Allah, not only by saying Alhamdulillah, but used to engage in ibadah, in worship. And once he got the message and he was named the messenger, he told his wife, Khadija radiallahu anha, he said, the days of rest are over. The days of rest are over. And that's why when he lay down on the mat and his body was marked, and Ibn Mas'ud said, Ya Rasulullah, let us make some cushioning for you so that you can be comfortable. He said, no, I am like the traveler that stops under a tree. And the dunya is like the tree. I get some rest under this tree. Once I get rest, I move on and continue traveling. He said, this is what I am. I'm a traveler. And he told Abdullah ibn Umar, O child, كن في الدنيا كأنك غريب عابر السبيل. Be in this life like you're a stranger or a wayfarer. So here, this is the worship of the believer. The Prophet ﷺ said, and this is a Hadith Qudsi. What is the difference between a Hadith Quran and Hadith Qudsi? Right? What is the difference? The difference is that the Quran, the Prophet ﷺ received it in the definition fi yaqada, and he was awake. Okay? The definition of Quran is what? Kitabullah al-Mu'jaz al-Muta'abbad bihi al-Munazzal ala Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam an tariq Jibreel fi al-Yaqada wa wasala ilayna fi al-Mutawatir. It came from Allah, Jibreel, Rasulullah, lana. That's unbroken chain. Right? The Hadith Qudsi, the Quran is not subject to verification like that, like we verify the Hadith. The Hadith Qudsi, they have their grade, they have their verification, right? And those that are authentic are considered sayings of Allah, but the Prophet ﷺ received it in his dream, right? And then he said, Allah said. But then the difference is that the Hadith Qudsi, the reading of it is not worship like the reading of the Quran, that one letter is Ashara Sanat. See, there's a difference between Quran and Hadith, and regular Hadith. So in this Hadith, Allah said, the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah said, I am the most independent of partners. So whoever does an action in which he makes other than me a partner, then I am free from that action. Whoever has a mixed intention, then I am free from that action. This is what Allah said. Now, in regards of showing off, Fudayl ibn Iyad rahimahullah said, leaving an action because of people is showing off. But some people, they leave it out of, they want to show off their humility. Okay? Others leave it because they're embarrassed of the people. Right? Also that, if you have the ability to offer some good, you shouldn't be embarrassed. This is ibadah, this is worship, this is da'wah. So you should share that khair that Allah gave us. Right now, but the one who does it because he wants to do it in private for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he wants to stay focused, not be distracted, then that's okay. If the person does it because he just wants to have his amal be better, right? And free from distraction. When Allah's Messenger says actions are only by the intention, it means that the act of obedience and worship are by intention. What about adat, general actions? General actions like you go to work daily. You get the reward for fulfilling your duties, right? But now you can raise that action from ada to ibadah. Kaif? Just by making the intention. Making tamyiz of that action. Right? So you make the intention, you think about Allah. Ya Allah, bless these steps. I'm going to work fi sabilik, for your sake. I'm going to earn your provisions so that I can provide for my family. Right? Protect me, protect my eyes, protect my ears, bless my wealth. And you make this action, even as you're driving, you're making the intention. That act becomes ibadah. That's why the mu'min has that opportunity to make all of his life ibadah. Just by making the intention, because that's what niyyah is. Niyyah is tamyiz al-amal. So for example, a person prays and there's a tree, and he's praying in front of a tree. But this person is praying to worship this tree. His niyyah is, I want to worship this tree. Because some people worship the creation, right? And a mu'min prayed behind this tree, but he used it as a sutra. His intention, I'm using it as a sutra. They're both doing the same thing. They're praying in front of a tree. The tree is in front of them, but the intention is different. The intention is tamyiz al-amal. They're doing the same. They're doing all of that, but the intention was different. Now, the truthfulness of the action is that the intention, that the action and the display of the action and the sincerity of the action in public matches the sincerity and the intention of the action in private. When you are home, like when you worship in the masjid, your level of ibadah, that when you worship at home, see here, sometimes the rak'ah is longer. At home, sometimes the rak'ah is like qasr, even though it's still 4 rak'ahs, we'll make it like express, just to get by, because you have something else. The tea is about to burn, you have to make these phone calls, you have a deadline, and you're like Speedy Gonzalez, right? That's a cartoon. You can look it up on YouTube later on. It's a cartoon I used to watch as a child. Right, so the actions, so the truthfulness in public and in private has to match. The intention, when it says that there's only for each man that which he intended. I read 2 surahs in Surah Al-Isha. Surah Al-Infitar and Surah Al-Adiyah. In Surah Al-Infitar it says, Ya ayyuhal insanu, ma gharraka bi rabbika al-kareem. O human being, why are you neglectful of your Lord? Who is he? الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك. Who created you, fashioned you, gave you your proportion in every part of your body, right? في أي سورة ما شاء ركبك. In the image that he decided, he fashioned you. كلا بل تكذبون بالدين. But you still deny the day of judgment. If you don't deny the day of judgment, then you fulfill your duties to Allah. Because the actions is the one that demonstrates your belief or denial of the day of judgment. And then he reminds us, وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ كَلَّا بَلْ تُكَذِّبُونَ بِالدِّينِ. You deny the day of judgment. وَإِنَّ عَلَيْكُمْ لَحَافِظِينَ. Don't you know that upon you are hafada, are angels, كِرَامًا كَاتِبِينَ, there are noble scribes. يَعْلَمُونَ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. They know everything that you do. Right? And then he says, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ. The righteous will be in na'im and delight. وَإِنَّ الْفُجَّارَ لَفِي جَحِيمٍ. Right? So this, Allah reminds us of our in our ikhlas. In Surah Al-Adiyah, when he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إنسان لكنود وإن على ذلك لشهيد وإنه لحب الخير لشديد. Then he says أفلا يعلم إذا بعثر ما في القبور. Does he not know when the people will come out of the graves? And then what's the next ayah? وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And that which is inside, in the heart, all the intention will be displayed. All the hidden will be made manifest. And it will be public, and people will see. وَحُصِّلَ مَا فِي الصُّدُورِ. And Allah is إِنَّ رَبَّهُمْ بِهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَخَبِيرٌ. And Allah is very well informed. He is informed of all the news. Everything, every minute detail. Not a leaf falls from a tree in the world except that He knows it. And not a leaf grows except that He knows it. Not a seed sprouts except that He knows it. يعلم ما يلج في الأرض وما يخرج منها وما ينزل من السماء وما يعرج فيها وهو معكم أينما كنتم والله بما تعملون بصير. He knows what goes in the earth, what comes out of it, what goes in the heavens, what comes down from it. And He is with you wherever you are by His knowledge. والله بما تعملون بصير. And Allah of what you do is very well aware of it. He sees it. Now, inshallah, to conclude, Allah says, Allah's Messenger says, whoever's hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger, then his hijrah is for Allah and His Messenger. So here, there are eight types of hijrah. I'm going to mention just three. The first is the hijrah of the companions from Mecca to Habasha. When they went from Mecca to Habasha. The second is the hijrah of Mecca to, and this happened 5 years after the revelation, right? The second is the 13 years after the revelation, approximately 13 years, which is the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. The hijrah from Mecca to Medina. The third is the hijrah of tribes. Particular tribes made hijrah to Rasulullah just to learn and come back to their people to teach them Islam. The fourth is the hijrah of people that became, people of Mecca who became Muslim, right? Who wanted to come to the Prophet ﷺ. The fifth is the hijrah from the land of kufr. The hijrah of the land of disbelief, right? And some people misinterpreted this, right? And some people left even their home countries just to go, like for example, they left America to go to another land, like a Muslim land, because they said that there's too much fitna, too much problems in this country, right? And so here, just to give you what Al-Mawardi rahimahullah said, if the person acquires family, relatives, and it is possible for him or her to practice his or her deen openly, then it is not permissible for him or her to migrate from that place, because there is no excuse, right? Since that place becomes an abode of Islam, because he's able to practice Islam. Like this, who's closing the masjid for us? Even in some Muslim land, after Isha, Yalla ibni imshi, go, we gotta close, we gotta turn off the lights, right? We gotta lock. After Fajr, it's done, close. Some people cannot wait for Salat al-Ishraq, Salat al-Duha, because we have to close. For whatever reason, given the benefit of the doubt. So in this case, if a person can practice Islam, can fulfill their duties, then there's no excuse, right? Sixth is the hijrah away, hijrah away from one's brother. The Prophet ﷺ said that it is not allowed to stay away from your brother, angry with him or her, your brother or sister, for more than 3 days. After that, one of you has to reconcile. Right? The seventh is the hijrah of the husband from a disobedient wife. Right? So there is not going away, is actually, for example, she's disobedient, and the husband also has to be obedient too. It's not that he is disobedient, the wife is disobedient, and then he says, no, you're disobedient, la, and you have to obey me. No, the husband also has to be muttaqi, has to be God conscious, has to be fulfilling his rights to Allah and to her before he starts claiming all the rights. So here, the wife is disobedient, not listening, then the husband can say, I'm not going to sleep in the bed, I'm going to sleep in the living room. This is just gradual way of dealing with it, not leaving out of the house and not dealing with the situation. There's different ways. And then the eighth and last is the hijrah from disobedience. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslim man salima al-Muslimuna min lisani wa yadi. Wal-Muhajir man hajara ma naha Allahu anhu. The Muslim is the one who other Muslims are safe from their tongue and their hands. Wal-Muhajir, and the migrant, is the one who migrates away from what Allah made forbidden. Migrating away from the disobedience to Allah. And last, whoever migrates for the dunya or for marriage. Just a brief story of Qais. There was a man who wanted to marry Qais. And he migrated to Medina. Because Qais said, I marry you if you come to Medina. So the Sahabas began to make fun of him. And they started calling him Muhajiru Qais. Here is Muhajiru, the one who migrated from Qais. And the Prophet ﷺ said this: "Man kana hijratuhu من كانت هجرته إلى الله ورسوله فهجرته ومن كانت هجرته للدنيا يصيبها أو امرأة ينكحها فهجرته لما هاجر إليه." So this is just why the sabab al-wurud, the reason why this part of the hadith was mentioned, because this man migrated from Qais. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from me all. Barakallahu fikum, subhanakallahu wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa baraka ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.